Episode 1, A Treatise on Humanism, the Sober Altruist. Welcome, listener. This channel will be a way to express opinions and reactions from a unique humanist perspective. This first series of videos will establish the foremost foundations of that unique perspective. Despite identifying as such, I hesitate to even call myself a humanist, as it seems to be lacking a coherent and common definition among those who call themselves humanist. What's worse is that some who believe themselves humanist suffer from a kind of rationalist reductionism that can best be described as allowing one's view of reality to be defined solely as the consequence of logos, which reeks of a kind of existential submission quite at odds with the will needed to vanguard and contribute to the species. This brand of humanism, my brand of humanism, is not common, or at least I have not found its analog. So we'll take some time to describe it here, as is the purpose of this episode. It is predicated on 7 assertions that we will delve into now. First, humanism is a choice to adhere to a set of beliefs and values that prioritizes humans and humanity. It is not some mawkish or mystical declaration of a belief in people. It is a sober recognition that we are in total a species like any other, subject to the same whims and malices of each other and our environment, but if not for the labors of our progenitors and the capacities of our minds. Foremost, true humanism is again a choice, a personal declaration of value and priority. Second, though the choice to prioritize species motivates the desire for altruism, an unarticulated desire to do good towards any end is insufficient and even hazardous. There are few regimes in history who persecuted great evil that did not believe they were doing what was right. I want to do good is an insufficient statement for optimistic morons incapable of imagining the dangers of ambiguity. A definition of what furthers the good of our species is thus necessary to create a coherent articulation and practice of humanism. Third, what is it that separates the new man from the old, the rich from the poor, the freed from the slave? In our long history, we have ever been the subject of existential bondage, the forced will of nature and tyrannies upon our lives. When the food walked away, we left our home to follow. When sickness descended as plague, we died, or worse, lived to see those whom we loved pass under the yoke of a hostile and unforgiving reality. None of us, nobody chooses to be thrown into the world. Less would any of us choose to be born in times of subjugation to disaster, deepest privation, or bondage. Yet for the lucky among us, those who reside in the modern, established world, we are freed from so much the tides of unwanted dictations upon our lives. When we cut ourselves, we no longer die from infection. When we drink water, we no longer worry about cholera. When we leave our homes and come back, they are still warm. All this we take for granted, forgetting that the lives we have been gifted are comfortable only because untold generations have built upon each other to give us this: a greater degree of freedom from the destructiveness and entropy of our world. So I ask again, What separates the new man from the old, the rich from the poor, the freed from the slave? It is existential liberty, the degree with which a person or peoples possesses the capacity to dictate the conditions and course of their own existence. That is what is good. That is what constitutes human advance. That is the beacon for the sober and true altruist. Not to hoist burdens or conditions upon others, but to work to expand their existential liberties, to give humanity the ability to write its own stories, to give humans the gift of greater self-determination. 4. The trajectory of our liberation from existential bondage is not linear. We have, and we will fail to maintain what others have fought so hard to create and keep. It only takes one particularly lethal plague, one nuke, one solar flare, and it's over. Our progress could be reset. All the sacrifice, all the work, the blood, the pain undone. And if our dead could see us, they would weep. This unforgiving reality constitutes the responsibility of the true altruist. To stand vigil, protect what we have and fight for what we need. It is to acknowledge existential risk and the consequences of succumbing. Human existential liberties cannot be made in the absence of human continuity and the securities of continued existence. 5. Human primacy. We may not forsake all else on a whim, but we must be willing to forsake all else on the altar of human continuity and interest. Human primacy is the necessary value that sets the priority of the true altruist. It is to put human interests above all else, save perhaps for the essential transcendence of value itself. Human primacy might be best understood in this perhaps crude parable. None should fell a tree of boredom or malice, but we would burn a forest to ash if it meant keeping our children warm. 6. The limitations and necessities of science and rationalism. The cult of science rises to replace the cult of myth, and yet science is only a tool, a mechanism of understanding the nature of reality and our relationship to it, but is incapable of illuminating a transcendent purpose as a hammer is incapable of writing a sonnet. Rationalism has given us a foundation upon which we blunt so many the hard dictations of reality, but rationalism and science cannot give us purpose. The more we learn of self, species, future, and environment, the better able we are to free ourselves from their bondages. The better may we pursue our purpose. This is the tool made manifest, the hammer held upon the nail, the vital utility of science and rationalism. 7. The gift of choosing true altruism is foremost one of responsibility. For those who accept the priority of species, the goodness of existential liberty, the assertion of human primacy, there is given no comfort, no rosy lens upon the visage of reality. What is given is purpose alone. What is given is a conviction upon which to reassess our relationship with our future, our communities, our technology, and foremost, ourselves. This channel will be a way for me to explore the implications of this ideological frame. I have spent years articulating this doctrine and striving to its practice. Please understand that what I have chosen to share here today merely constitutes a summary of a roughly articulated whole. Essential topics I will strive to elaborate in the future include the human relationship with death and time, the meaning of existential liberty, the necessity of human expansionism, the communion of experience and suffering, human identity and contemporary rebellions towards its dissolution or devalue, the supremacy of culture and the influence of change, and more. I invite everyone to listen as they please. If not because these ideas, or some of them at least, resonate, then at least to come to know a different way of being. Thank you for listening, and I leave you with this to ponder. This, the enormous responsibility of living, to exist for a lifetime at the single point of human influence over the future, so to be felt as long as humanity should endure, in misery or majesty.